Look, I need you to be honest with yourself right now. Deep down, you know something isn't moving in your life. You're spinning your wheels, putting in effort, trying, hustling. But for some reason, the results just aren't showing up. And I want you to understand something crucial. Being stuck is never about your talent, your education, or even your luck. It's about one simple truth: your patterns. Yes, your patterns, your habits. The invisible routines that you run every single day, the ones that either propel you forward or hold you back. Most people think they're working hard, but they're just busy being busy. They're running in circles, thinking movement equals progress. But let me tell you something: movement without direction, energy without focus, effort without clarity, that's what keeps you stuck. So, the first reason you're still stuck is fear. Fear is silent. It doesn't scream, it whispers. Better the devil you know than the devil you don't. It's the small voice that convinces you to stay in a job you hate, to stay in a relationship that drains you, to stay small because change is uncomfortable. But here's the secret. Fear is not your enemy, it's a compass. It points to exactly where you need to grow. Wherever fear shows up, that's the place your breakthrough is hiding. The second reason you're stuck is clarity, or lack of it. Most people drift through life thinking if they just try harder, things will change. But effort without a target is wasted energy. You have to get clear on exactly what you want, and more importantly, why you want it. Not what your parents want, not what society wants, not what's convenient, but what sets your soul on fire. When you know your why, every obstacle becomes a stepping stone. Every setback becomes fuel. The third reason is your story, the narrative you've been telling yourself for years. I'm not good enough. I've failed before, I'll fail again. Success is for other people, not me. Let me tell you something. Your past does not define you. Your story only has power if you give it power, and here's the truth. The moment you take responsibility for your life, the moment you stop blaming circumstances, people, or luck, that is when you break free. You can rewrite your story starting today. And fourth, most people are stuck because they underestimate the power of momentum. Change doesn't happen in giant leaps. It happens in tiny, relentless steps. You don't need a miracle, you need consistency. You don't need a new life, you need to change your next action. Wake up and do the things that take you closer to your goals, even when you don't feel like it. That's how you build momentum. That's how you create unstoppable progress. Now, let's talk about decisions. Decisions are the bridge between being stuck and breaking free. It's not about having all the answers. It's about making a decision and taking immediate action. The people who move forward aren't the ones who know everything. They're the ones who commit, who act, and who adjust along the way. Indecision is the grave of potential. Every day you wait, every time you hesitate, is a day you give up the life you could have had. And finally, here's the truth that most people refuse to face. You are responsible for where you are, and only you are responsible for where you go next. Nobody else is going to do it for you. Your friends won't push you hard enough. Your family won't challenge you enough. Society won't hand it to you. The only way forward is to step up, take control, and refuse to settle. So I want you to ask yourself right now, are you going to keep being stuck, or are you going to take that first step toward freedom? Because the choice is yours, and it always has been. Fear will try to stop you. Doubt will whisper in your ear, and comfort will try to seduce you back into mediocrity. But the life you deserve, it's waiting on the other side of that first decision. Remember this, being stuck is not permanent. Stuck is not who you are. Stuck is just the signal that you've been playing too small, that you've been following the wrong patterns, and that it's time to wake up and take massive action. Your life is not a rehearsal. Your life is happening right now. Step into your power, make your move, and watch what happens when you refuse to be stuck ever again. Your patterns are holding you back, and most people don't even realize it. You think that your lack of progress is about not being smart enough, not having the right connections, or not working hard enough, but it's not. It's the invisible forces inside you that are shaping your results every single day. The routines, habits, and unconscious behaviors that you repeat without thinking. They determine where your life goes. Think about it. If you do the same things today that you did yesterday and the day before that, what do you expect to change? It's the definition of insanity to expect a different outcome from the same actions, and yet so many people live this way. They wake up, go through their routines, and wonder why they're not progressing. They wonder why their life feels stagnant, why the doors they want to open remain closed, and why the results they crave never arrive. But the answer is simple. It's the patterns. Patterns are powerful because they operate underneath your conscious mind. Most of the time you don't even realize they're there. You don't see them, you don't hear them, but they guide every decision you make. They tell you when to get up, when to sleep, what to eat, how to respond to challenges, and even how to think about yourself. And when these patterns are misaligned with the results you want, no amount of effort will get you anywhere. You could be working 12 hours a day, grinding harder than everyone else, and still not move forward because your internal patterns are working against you. You might be talented, you might have drive, but if your underlying systems are flawed, your life will reflect that struggle every single day. The good news is, patterns are not permanent. The bad news is, most people resist change because patterns feel safe. They are familiar. You might hate your job, feel stuck in your relationships, or see your health deteriorating, but there's something comforting about your patterns. They are predictable. Even if they're painful, they are familiar. And here's the truth. Humans will choose familiarity over growth almost every time. That's why people stay in debt, end jobs, toxic relationships, and unhealthy lifestyles for years, even decades, because the discomfort of change feels greater than the discomfort of staying the same. But that's an illusion, because the longer you stay stuck, the more painful your life becomes, the more opportunities slip away, and the more potential you waste. You need to understand that your patterns are created over time. They're built from repetition, from small choices that seem insignificant in the moment, but compound over weeks, months, and years. If you wake up every day and scroll through your phone for an hour before starting your day, that hour seems harmless, but it's part of a pattern that shapes your mindset and energy. If you constantly complain, blame others, or make excuses, that becomes a pattern. If you surround yourself with people who don't push you, challenge you, or inspire you, that becomes a pattern. Every little choice, every micro decision contributes to the framework that either propels you forward or keeps you stuck. And here's the brutal truth. If you're stuck, it's not the world, it's your patterns. It's the actions you keep repeating without thinking. It's the decisions you make unconsciously every day. To break free, you have to become aware of your patterns. Awareness is the first step toward change because you cannot change what you do not see. Most people live on autopilot, going through life without questioning why they do what they do. They react instead of respond. They drift instead of lead. But when you start noticing your patterns, when you see them clearly, you gain power over them. You start to ask questions like, why am I doing this? Is this getting me the results I want? You start to catch yourself in the moment, breaking the autopilot cycle and creating conscious, intentional actions that align with your goals. And it's not just about awareness, it's about replacement. You cannot simply stop a pattern without putting something better in its place. If you want to stop being stuck, you have to create new patterns that are aligned with your vision, your goals, and your identity. If you want to be healthier, you need to create exercise and nutrition patterns that support that. If you want to grow financially, you need to create patterns of saving, investing, and taking calculated risks. If you want better relationships, you need to create patterns of communication, empathy, and presence. The human brain cannot tolerate emptiness. If you remove a pattern without replacing it, You will slip back into the old behavior every single time. That's why transformation requires deliberate, intentional repetition. It's not magic, it's mechanics. Another thing to understand is that your environment reinforces your patterns. You are the product of your environment more than you realize. If you are constantly surrounded by people who doubt you, who criticize you, or who are complacent, you will unconsciously adopt their patterns. You will start thinking like them, acting like them, and limiting yourself like them. Your patterns are contagious, but the opposite is also true. When you surround yourself with people who push you, challenge you, and inspire you to raise your standards, your patterns begin to shift naturally. You absorb their habits, their mindset, and their energy. Change becomes easier because your environment is now supporting the new patterns you want to create. The moment you understand that your patterns are the key to your results, you gain control. You stop blaming luck, circumstances, or other people. You take responsibility for your life because patterns are something you can change, something you can design, something you can master. It's not easy, and it requires discipline, awareness, and persistence. But nothing worth achieving comes without effort, and the power is in your hands. You can decide today that you will no longer let old, unconscious patterns dictate your future. You can choose to build new, empowering patterns that push you forward. You can decide to stop reacting to life and start designing it. And here's the beauty of patterns. Once you create the right ones, progress becomes almost automatic. You don't have to fight every day. The momentum carries you. When the right pattern is in place, success compounds. Your energy, focus, and actions align effortlessly, and what once felt like struggle now feels like natural growth. That's how extraordinary people achieve extraordinary results. They didn't get there by luck or by talent alone. They got there by creating and mastering patterns that consistently produced the outcomes they desired. But first, you have to admit it. You have to be willing to look at yourself honestly and see where your patterns are holding you back. You have to accept that being stuck is not someone else's fault. It's a reflection of your current patterns. You have to be willing to do the hard work of rewiring your behaviors, your habits, and your daily routines. And when you do, everything changes. Your patterns define your life. Your results are a mirror of your daily actions. Change the pattern, change the outcome, and you unlock a life you never thought was possible. Fear is the number one reason people remain stuck in life, and most of the time they don't even recognize it. It doesn't always show up as a loud, screaming alarm. Most often, fear is a whisper, a subtle hesitation, a small voice in the back of your mind that convinces you to stay in your comfort zone. Better the devil you know than the devil you don't, it says. Stay where it's safe, stay where you're comfortable, because change is too risky. And because fear is silent and insidious, it has the power to control your life without you ever realizing it. You may think you are making decisions freely, but often those choices are being dictated by fear. Fear can masquerade as procrastination, doubt, overthinking, perfectionism, or even busyness. It keeps you spinning, doing things that feel safe, avoiding things that challenge you, and postponing the very actions that would change your life. Most people do not fail because they lack ability. They fail because they are too afraid to take the first step. The first thing you need to understand is that fear is not your enemy. It is not a sign of weakness, nor is it a message that you should stop or retreat. Fear is a compass. Wherever fear appears in your life is exactly where your breakthrough is waiting. If you feel fear about starting a new business, that fear is a signal that this is an area where growth, opportunity, and transformation lie. If you feel fear about ending a relationship that no longer serves you, that fear is pointing you to freedom and alignment with your purpose. If you feel fear about stepping into a bigger role, it is showing you the place where your next level of impact and success exists. Fear is a marker. It tells you what matters, where you have something to gain, and where your growth will occur. The people who achieve extraordinary results do not eliminate fear. They recognize it, respect it, and then act in spite of it. They move toward the very things that scare them because they understand that fear is the gateway to progress. Fear becomes destructive when you allow it to control you. Most people avoid what they fear and justify it with rationalizations, telling themselves, "I'm not ready. I don't have enough experience," or "the timing isn't right." The truth is, the timing is never perfect, and readiness is an illusion. Fear will always find a reason to stop you if you let it. The moment you start waiting for fear to disappear, you are choosing stagnation over growth. And the paradox is that fear disappears the moment you take action. The moment you confront it, step into it, and move through it, fear loses its power. It no longer controls you. It may still exist, but it transforms from a wall into a motivator, from a stop sign into a signal, and from a source of limitation into a source of energy and courage. Another reason fear keeps people stuck is the stories they tell themselves about the consequences of failure. People imagine the worst case scenario and it paralyzes them. If I try and fail, everyone will judge me. They think, if I take this risk, I could lose everything. These thoughts are powerful because they feel real, but they are rarely grounded in reality. Fear exaggerates the cost of taking action and underestimates the cost of staying the same. The truth is that doing nothing is far more dangerous than trying and failing. Every day you stay in fear, you miss opportunities, erode your confidence, and build patterns of avoidance that become harder and harder to break. The pain of staying stuck accumulates silently until it erupts as regret, frustration, or resentment. But the pain of action, no matter how uncomfortable, is temporary, and it always leads to growth. Fear also manifests as indecision. When you are afraid, you hesitate. You postpone decisions, telling yourself that you will act later, when conditions are better. But life doesn't wait. Opportunities do not pause until you feel ready. Momentum is created by action, not by hesitation. The people who achieve extraordinary success are not fearless. They are decisive. They make choices, take action, and adjust along the way. They understand that decisions are the bridge between being stuck and moving forward. Indecision is the grave of potential, because every day you wait, every time you hesitate, is a day you give up on the life you could have had. Fear is also magnified by isolation. When you face challenges alone, your mind spins, doubts multiply, and fear becomes louder. But when you have mentors, allies, or a supportive community, fear loses its grip. Exposure to other people who have faced similar fears, taken action, and succeeded gives you a template to follow. It shows you that fear is normal, that action is possible, and that growth is achievable. Surround yourself with people who challenge you, who inspire courage, and who hold you accountable, and fear transforms from a roadblock into a guide. Understanding that fear is temporary and action is permanent is key. The moment you step toward what scares you, your energy shifts. The mind is always trying to protect you from pain, but it does not understand that avoidance creates long-term suffering. Taking action in the face of fear rewires your nervous system. It strengthens your confidence and builds courage, which compounds over time. Each step you take toward what you fear makes the next step easier. Momentum grows, confidence rises, and fear diminishes, not because it disappears, but because you learn that you are capable of more than you realized. Fear also teaches resilience. Every time you face it and take action, you expand your capacity to handle life's challenges. Life will always present uncertainty, obstacles, and discomfort, but fear will only hold you back if you let it. When you lean into fear, you grow stronger. You develop the mental toughness, emotional stability, and resourcefulness required to succeed. Fear becomes fuel, not shackles, because you learn that it is not the absence of fear that matters, but your ability to act in spite of it. The final truth about fear is that it is tied to your vision. The bigger your goals, the greater the fear. Fear is proportionate to what matters most. If you are not feeling fear, if you are not uncomfortable, it probably means you are not challenging yourself enough. It means you are not stepping into the arena where transformation occurs. And this is why so many people remain stuck. They aim too small, they play too safe, and they let fear convince them that comfort is better than growth. But comfort never produces greatness. Comfort never produces fulfillment. Comfort is the enemy of progress. The people who break free from being stuck understand that fear is an invitation, a signal, and an opportunity. They embrace it, they move toward it, and they let it guide them to the life they are capable of creating. Clarity is the single most powerful force that separates those who are stuck from those who achieve extraordinary results. Most people drift through life without a clear vision, without a defined target, and without a precise understanding of what they truly want. They wake up each day reacting to circumstances instead of creating them. They allow their lives to be shaped by distractions, opinions, and the urgencies of others rather than by intentional decisions. And the tragic part is, they are working hard, they are putting in effort, they are moving, but they are not moving in the right direction. You could work 80 hours a week, give it everything you have, and still be stuck if you lack clarity. Energy without direction is wasted energy. Focus without purpose is pointless. The first step to breaking free from being stuck is to define exactly what you want. Clarity is not just about knowing what you want in general terms. It's about defining it in vivid, precise detail. Many people say, "I want to be successful," or "I want to be happy," but these are vague statements. What does success look like to you? How does it feel? What does happiness look like in your daily life? The more specific you are, the easier it becomes to align your actions and patterns with your vision. Clarity turns abstract dreams into tangible goals. It transforms vague desires into actionable plans, and it creates a lens through which every decision can be evaluated. Without clarity, every choice you make is a guess. With clarity, every step you take becomes intentional and strategic. But clarity alone is not enough. The second piece of the puzzle is your why. Knowing what you want is powerful, but understanding why you want it is transformational. The why is the emotional driver behind your actions. It is the reason that fuels persistence when obstacles arise, the source of resilience when fear appears, and the anchor that keeps you grounded when doubt creeps in. Your why must be bigger than temporary discomfort. It must be compelling, urgent, and deeply personal. Without a strong why, motivation fades quickly. With a strong why, you can endure months, even years, of hard work and setbacks without losing momentum. Your why transforms your goals from nice to have wishes into non-negotiable imperatives. Clarity also creates focus. When you know exactly what you want and why you want it, you can eliminate distractions. Most people are stuck because they are scattered. Their attention pulled in 1,000 directions by social media, other people's expectations, and endless tasks that have little impact on their future. But focus is a result of clarity. When your target is clear, decisions become easier. When you know your destination, you automatically prioritize the steps that get you closer. You say no to things that waste your energy and yes to the actions that align with your vision. Focus is not about doing more. It is about doing the right things consistently and relentlessly. Another aspect of clarity is understanding your current reality. You cannot reach your destination if you do not know where you are starting from. Most people are stuck because they ignore the truth about their circumstances. They avoid honest self-assessment and pretend that they are further along than they really are. But clarity requires brutal honesty. You must assess your strengths, your weaknesses, your resources, and your limitations. You must look at your habits, your patterns, and your environment and determine what is helping you and what is holding you back. Only when you have a clear picture of where you are can you design a plan to get to where you want to be. Clarity also requires defining milestones and measurable outcomes. Vague goals produce vague results. You need markers that tell you whether you are moving in the right direction. What does progress look like this month, this week, today? How will you measure it? Clarity turns dreams into a map, and measurable outcomes are the checkpoints that keep you accountable. Without this, it is easy to get lost, to drift, and to assume that effort alone equals progress. With clarity and measurable markers, you know exactly where you are, what needs to change, and what actions will produce the results you seek. One of the most overlooked aspects of clarity is vision alignment. Many people have goals that are not aligned with their values, their purpose, or their natural talents. They chase success, money, or approval that doesn't resonate with their authentic selves, and as a result, they feel stuck, frustrated, and unfulfilled. Clarity is not just about external outcomes, it is about internal alignment. You must define what success means to you personally, emotionally, and spiritually, not what society, family, or peers dictate. Alignment creates unstoppable momentum because your actions are no longer just tasks. They are expressions of your deepest desires, and this energy propels you forward in ways that effort alone never could. Clarity also gives you confidence. When you know exactly where you are going, every decision feels empowered. Indecision fades, doubt diminishes, and procrastination loses its grip. The mind works in proportion to the clarity of the target. Confusion breeds fear, but clarity breeds courage. People who achieve extraordinary results do not rely on luck. They rely on a clear vision that guides every action. They can navigate uncertainty because the destination is clear, and the path, though not always obvious, is illuminated by their purpose. Finally, clarity allows you to anticipate obstacles before they derail you. When you have a clear vision and understand your why, you can foresee challenges, plan strategies, and prepare mentally, emotionally, and physically to overcome them. You are not reacting to problems. You are navigating through them with intention. Clarity transforms uncertainty into opportunity, challenges into stepping stones, and setbacks into learning experiences. It is the bridge between being stuck and creating a life of freedom, power, and achievement. The people who remain stuck are not stuck because of their environment, their intelligence, or their resources. They are stuck because they are unclear. They have no target, no plan, no strong why, and no focus. And this lack of clarity allows fear, doubt, distraction, and indecision to dominate their lives. When you gain clarity, everything changes. You know what to do, you know why you are doing it, and you know which actions will move you forward. Clarity transforms hesitation into momentum, confusion into power, and ordinary effort into extraordinary results. Your story does not define you, yet most people allow it to control them. From the moment we are born, we begin collecting experiences, forming beliefs, and telling ourselves narratives about who we are, what we are capable of, and what we deserve. And over time, these narratives solidify into what we call identity. I'm not good enough, I always fail, success is for other people, not me. These stories become the invisible chains that dictate how we act, what we attempt, and how far we are willing to go. People believe that their past mistakes, failures, or circumstances are permanent labels, and as a result, they remain stuck. They carry the weight of their history as if it were a fixed condition, and they allow it to limit their dreams, ambitions, and potential. The truth is, your story only has power if you give it power. Your past is a reference, not a rule. One of the most powerful realizations you can have is that your story is something you can rewrite. Every day, every choice, every action is an opportunity to add a new chapter to your life, to redefine who you are, and to create the identity that serves your goals. If you have failed before, it does not mean you will fail again. If you have made mistakes, it does not mean you are destined to repeat them. The moment you take responsibility for your life, the moment you stop blaming circumstances, people, or luck, is the moment you gain the power to shape your story. Taking responsibility is not about self-blame, it is about empowerment. It is about understanding that your choices, your actions, and your mindset are the tools that determine your future. Your story becomes a limitation when you allow it to create fear, doubt, or hesitation. People stay in dead-end situations because they tell themselves, "This is just who I am. I'm not capable of more." They limit their potential by believing in the false permanence of their past. But identity is not static, it is fluid. You are not the sum of your failures. You are the sum of your decisions moving forward. Every time you choose courage over comfort, action over avoidance, and growth over stagnation, you are rewriting the narrative that has been holding you back. Another way your story holds you back is through comparison. People look at the lives of others and tell themselves, "I could never do that. That's just not me." They assume that their history, circumstances, or limitations define the ceiling of what they can achieve. But the truth is, your story is unique. Your struggles, your failures, and your victories are the building blocks of your growth. Comparison steals energy, focus, and clarity. It distracts you from writing your own story, from taking the actions that align with your goals, and from creating the life that is truly yours. The people who break free from being stuck understand that the only story that matters is the one they are actively writing today. Your story also shapes the language you use with yourself and others. The words you choose matter because they reinforce the narrative in your mind. "I can't. I'm not enough. It's too late." These statements are the bricks that build the cage of limitation. If you want to break free, you must change the language of your story. Speak with authority, speak with possibility, and speak with ownership. Replace statements of limitation with statements of empowerment. Say, "I am capable of growth. I am creating the life I want. I can learn, adapt, and succeed." Words are not just communication. They are the tools that shape identity, and when you change the language, you change the story. Rewriting your story also requires reframing past experiences. Every challenge, setback, and failure carries a lesson if you are willing to see it. The people who achieve extraordinary results do not ignore their past. They learn from it, extract the wisdom, and use it as fuel. Failure is feedback, not a verdict. Mistakes are opportunities for growth, not definitions of character. When you begin to view your past through this lens, fear and regret lose their power. Your story becomes a source of strength, resilience, and clarity, rather than a source of limitation. Identity is reinforced by habits and patterns. If your story is one of limitation, your actions often reflect that story. You procrastinate, you avoid risks, you settle for mediocrity, and you repeat behaviors that confirm your self-limiting beliefs. But when you consciously take actions that align with the story you want to create, you begin to shift identity. Action is the proof that rewiring your story is possible. Every decision to step forward, take responsibility, and push beyond comfort reinforces a new narrative of capability, courage, and growth. Patterns and actions are the evidence that your story is not fixed but flexible. Your story also affects the way you see opportunities. People trapped in limiting narratives often fail to recognize possibilities because their story tells them they are not worthy or not capable. But when you consciously rewrite your story, you start seeing doors that were invisible before. You start noticing solutions, resources, and paths forward that were hidden by fear and doubt. Opportunities begin to align with your new narrative because your perception shifts, and perception is reality. The people who escape being stuck are not luckier or smarter. They are clear about the story they are creating and are actively seeking opportunities that align with it. Another critical aspect of rewriting your story is accountability. You cannot change your narrative if you remain passive. You must actively monitor the beliefs you hold, the patterns you follow, and the language you use. You must ask yourself daily, am I living in alignment with the story I want to create? And when you recognize that you are slipping back into old patterns, you must course. Correct immediately. Transformation is not passive. It requires deliberate effort, and conscious choices. The story you tell yourself becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy unless you take control of it, actively designing it, and holding yourself accountable to the life you want. Finally, your story is meant to inspire, not limit. You have the power to create a narrative that empowers you, motivates you, and propels you toward extraordinary results. You can define who you are, what you stand for, and what you are capable of achieving. You can create a story where challenges become opportunities, where fear becomes fuel, where setbacks become stepping stones, and where your potential is unlimited. The people who achieve greatness are those who refuse to be defined by the past, who embrace responsibility, and who actively craft a narrative that serves their goals and dreams. Decisions and action are the bridges that take you from being stuck to creating the life you desire. Most people fail to realize that the difference between those who are successful and those who remain stagnant is not talent, resources, or luck. It is the ability to make clear decisions and then act immediately. Every day, you are faced with choices, some small, some enormous, but it is your commitment to deciding and acting that determines your trajectory. Indecision is the silent thief of opportunity. When you delay, hesitate, or wait for the perfect moment, you give power to fear, doubt, and external circumstances. You hand over control of your life to randomness, and the result is stagnation. The people who move forward, the people who achieve extraordinary results, do not wait until conditions are perfect. They decide, they commit, and they act. The first truth about decision-making is that clarity is essential. You cannot act effectively if you do not know what you want. Decision without clarity is like firing arrows in the dark, hoping one will hit the target. But when you are clear on your goals, your values, and your purpose, decisions become easier, faster, and more aligned with your true vision. Clarity removes hesitation because you can evaluate options through the lens of your objective. Every choice either moves you closer to your goal or pulls you away. The moment you understand this, indecision loses its grip. You begin to see decisions not as burdens, but as opportunities to create the life you desire. Action is the second key. A decision without action is meaningless. Most people make decisions in their minds, but never translate them into reality. They read books, attend seminars, and make plans, but when it comes to implementation, they stall. Action is what transforms ideas into results. It is what converts vision into reality. Without action, dreams remain fantasies, goals remain wishes, and potential remains untapped. The most powerful people are not necessarily the most knowledgeable. They are the most decisive and the most relentless in taking action. They understand that momentum is created through doing, not thinking, and that the universe rewards those who move, not those who wait. Immediate action is critical because hesitation compounds fear. Every time you wait, doubt grows and procrastination becomes a habit. The moment you act, you break the cycle. Action generates clarity, feedback, and momentum. Even imperfect action is better than perfect inaction. When you step forward, you learn, adjust, and grow. You gain confidence, you gain experience, and you gain the ability to influence outcomes. People overestimate what they can do in a day, but they underestimate what consistent, decisive action over weeks, months, and years can achieve. Success compounds when decisions and actions are aligned with purpose. Another key element is committing fully. Half-hearted decisions produce half-hearted results. People often decide to pursue something, but they hedge, they procrastinate, or they leave room for retreat. Commitment is the fuel that drives perseverance when obstacles appear. Commitment turns intention into action and action into results. When you make a fully committed decision, your mind, body, and energy align to support it. You begin to see opportunities where before you saw obstacles. You develop creativity, resourcefulness, and resilience. Commitment is the line that separates those who move forward from those who remain stuck. Accountability amplifies the power of decisions and action. Decisions alone are not enough. You must hold yourself accountable for following through. Too often, people make great plans but fail to implement them because they lack accountability. Accountability can come from mentors, peers, coaches, or even self. discipline, but it ensures that your intentions translate into action. When you commit to something publicly or to someone you respect, it creates a higher standard, a higher expectation, and a higher probability of follow-through. Accountability transforms vague intentions into measurable progress and ensures that your decisions lead to real results. Another aspect of action is embracing discomfort. Decisions that lead to growth are rarely comfortable. They often challenge your beliefs, push you beyond your comfort zone, and demand courage. People resist action because it is uncomfortable. They want certainty, safety, and ease, but those are illusions. Growth and transformation are born from discomfort. Action requires you to face fear, doubt, and uncertainty head on. Every time you choose to act despite discomfort, you expand your capacity, strengthen your resilience, and move closer to your goal. Avoiding discomfort keeps you safe, but it also keeps you stagnant, unfulfilled, and frustrated. Decisions and action are also tied to adaptability. Making a decision does not mean rigidly sticking to one path without adjustment. Life is unpredictable and obstacles are inevitable. Successful people make decisions, take action, and then adjust based on feedback. They iterate, experiment, and refine their approach. The courage to decide and the discipline to act are coupled with flexibility and resilience. You must be willing to course correct, learn from mistakes, and adapt to changing circumstances, but never at the expense of moving forward. Indecision is permanent, but adjustment is powerful. The speed of your decisions also matters. Procrastination is one of the main reasons people remain stuck. Every day you delay a decision, you allow fear, doubt, and external circumstances to gain control. The longer you wait, the heavier the decision becomes. Fast decisions, even if imperfect, create momentum. Momentum produces clarity, energy, and results. Speed in decision-making is a form of power because it demonstrates confidence, focus, and determination. The people who create extraordinary lives do not wait for perfect timing. They act decisively in course, correct along the way. Finally, the quality of your life is a direct reflection of the quality of your decisions. Every relationship, every career, every financial outcome, and every personal achievement stems from the decisions you make. If you want different results, you must make different decisions. If you want more impact, more fulfillment, or more success, you must decide and act in alignment with that vision. Your past decisions may have shaped your current reality, but your future is determined by the decisions you make right now. Decisions are the bridge between being stuck and achieving freedom, between mediocrity and greatness, between what is and what could be.